This is Warbird Radio.
And welcome to Warbird Radio. I'm Matt Jolley, the old P40 starting up there. Jason Capra is on the phone with me right now. He's headed into work. Jason Capra, the guy that started Beach City Baby. The last time you were on Warbird Radio, the plane was in Beach City, Ohio, with just covered in bird gun and nasty paint, and now it's flying. So that's how fast a restoration happens when you're with Jason Capra. Is that right? It just magically happens. The airplane's the airplane's up and running since your last episode. So
it feels like it was just the other day, but I guess it was a little over a couple of years ago, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. It was just a couple of years ago. Well, it's funny when this thing happened and the server, disappeared overnight and all that stuff. We have all of the shows. We have the entire library of 600 and some odd episodes. But yeah, so it's just a question of sorting it all out. But we're back, and you're back, and flying. You were just in Pennsylvania this past weekend, weren't you?
Yeah. EAA flying over in Meadville, Pennsylvania, which is not too far away from our home airport in Franklin. So it was a pretty quick little flight. I think it was only about 10 minutes, 15 at the most. But good group of people over there at the EAA chapter in Meadville. We were more than happy to help them out again.
What a cool story with your airplane. I mean, you guys and gals have done it the old-fashioned way. I mean, this is a bootstrap operation. You drove past Beach City Baby before it was ever called that. At the time, it was Buckeye 1, I guess, would be the closest.
That's correct.
And you're driving by, you don't even know it's Buckeye 1. You're just driving by, you hear the rumors, and you're like, man, somebody ought to do something about this. And I remember you'd start putting it out there, on Facebook and social media. Somebody ought to do something. And you keep getting that tap on the back of your shoulder. And finally, you say, I guess that somebody's me.
Yeah, I suppose that's exactly how it went. If you want to call it divine intervention, I kept thinking of who was going to care about this airplane and save it. And I don't know. I just figured, what the heck? I think I'm going to have to be the person to do it. And I'm really fortunate, Matt, that I've known you for a while now, but I had the experience and exposure to flying and working on and operating Douglas transports with Tim Chope from the Berlin Airlift Historical Foundation. And I mean, this was a huge step away from working there, but I don't know. I just felt like if I did it for the right reasons and just, put it out there that here's what I wanted to do, and I'm trying to just genuinely save this airplane and operate it to tell its story, that the right people would come along and make it all happen. And they did. Not
only did they come along, but they've showed up in droves. I mean, you ran, which I think is just fantastic. You had one of if you look at the count, the number of people who donated, not the dollar amount, but the number of people who donated to save that airplane, small donations, you had an overwhelming response.
Yeah, it was. I've said this before, and I'll say it again. It wasn't a lot by a few, but a few by a lot.
Yeah.
And what I think is really cool about that is, you want to pay homage to the greatest generation in the World War II generation, and really highlight that how the whole country came together to win that war. I mean, we just recreated that 80 some years later with one airplane, and that same spirit, that same. We can do it. The Rosie the Riveters, flexing the muscles, and just, it was a lot of people who just cared and put their common effort together to save this airplane. And it's just amazing that 80 years later, that same drive, that same playbook came back into fruition to save this airplane.
And there it is now in a hangar, your hangar at the airport with a small museum attached to it. And you're rolling it out there. I mean, this thing it's up and running. You're taking it to shows. You're taking it to events. And the best part of it is it's doing exactly what you wanted it to do, what this vision was years ago when we first met you and you started coming on this show and talking about it. And I mean, my hat's off to you, because this has cost you a lot personally.
Oh yeah. Oh yes,
this.
it has. Yes, it has. You know that more than anybody, just because we've talked so much over the last year or two. But it more than financial. It was just physically, the airplane just the organization demands a lot. And
well, I'm going to go there. I mean, you were a young single guy. You had a stable girlfriend. You had your life in order, man. When I first met you, everything was ticking along, just tick, 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 tick. And then you fall in love with this dadgum airplane. The whole thing blows up. And I mean, if you ever meet Jason in person and you're sitting down, you have to hear the whole story, because I mean, there is some stuff that is book worthy. I mean, like, unbelievably book worthy in this story about some of the dirty little details. And I'm not gonna say it here, but it is book worthy, my friend. I mean, like,
well, I'll tell you,
the word go around comes to mind.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, I'm not going to go there, but I'm telling you, you gave a lot to get this going. Not any more than what those men and women did who built these airplanes and who truly saved us from an unbelievably bad history in this chapter that you're paying tribute to. But you've given a lot to keep this thing going.
Yeah, and honestly, I wouldn't trade it for the world. It was, looking back at everything that's been accomplished and the people's lives that have been touched and the friendships that have fostered because of this airplane, it was all worth it. And like I said, no one said that this journey was going to be easy when I started down it. But there's one thing that I'm proud to boast about, I guess, if you will, is I have work ethic. And growing up where I did and how I did in southwestern Pennsylvania, and a small coal mining and farming town, and just a lot of blue collar, hardworking people, quit was never a word that was instilled in my vocabulary. And a lot of the people that I grew up around are just very hardworking, blue collar individuals. So this was nothing different than chasing another dream that other people have pursued. It's just that, Western Pennsylvania, industrial blue collar work ethic, that if I work hard enough, anything's possible.
I bought a house. I was living in the Middle East, and one of your team members who I had become friends with, Tim Nelson, happened to be in the area. And this just tells you what kind of people you're working with. I said, I haven't seen this house. I just bought it, and I don't even know where the corners of the property are. Tim says, well, I'm not far from there. I'll go by there tonight, and I'll FaceTime you, and I'll find the corner markers of the property. Tim was the first guy to sit on my porch, So, that's the level that you guys bring to the table. I mean, if it had to be done, if it was traipsing through the woods, no matter what it was, your team pulled it off. And I want to talk about your team, because you have some outstanding folks who have been by your side every single step of the way.
Yeah, I tell you, I really couldn't do it without, you remove any of them from the equation, and I don't think this airplane is where it is. Joe Matz, I can't say enough about Joe. Joe's, in his 20s, and he's my director of maintenance and my vice president. And this guy drives from Cleveland, Ohio to Franklin, which is about an hour and a half, hour and 45 minutes one way, every weekend to work on that airplane and to keep it flying. He's all, like I said, he's in his mid to late 20s.
Yeah.
And he is my director of maintenance and my head maintenance officer on the airplane. I mean, he knows the airplane inside and out. I've got a very good family friend and friend of mine. It was his dad since, him and I have been best friends since second grade. And I've known his dad just as long. Well, his dad's A&P mechanic and an IA, and without hesitation, Wayne signed up to be our aircraft inspector right at the start of the project, put his name on everything. Just
wow.
How much he trusted in us,
And every turn, I mean, it's been as with aircraft restoration, every turn in the road has had a potential disaster. I mean, from, hey, we got to pull the wing off. We got to do this inspection. We got to start looking at this stuff. We got to do this or whatever it is. Here recently, you guys, you just got the airplane up and running, and then you started looking in the empennage, and lo and behold, there's some corrosion. It's not passing muster, and so what do? You pull it apart.
That was one of the more disheartening things that happened on the airplane. Was after all that work was done. But again, it just goes to the thoroughness of the people that are working on it. We found some corrosion on the attach angle for the horizontal stabilizer that had gone unnoticed before. And, the only solution was to either replace all the attach angles on that, which would have required building a jig and everything else to hold the horizontals together and structurally in the same construction that they're in right now, and not disform them at all, or try and find a new set. And luckily we were able to procure a brand new rebuilt set of horizontal stabilizers for a DC-3. And I mean, it was a no-brainer. The cost was beyond reasonable, and it saved us a lot of mostly time than anything, having to rebuild the set that we had. So it was a pretty seamless switch. It just took some time, but could you believe that an entire new set of horizontal stabilizers, Matt, for a DC-3 built years apart, fit like a glove on ours?
Wow,
just to show you the ingenuity and precision that these guys had when they built these airplanes 80-some years ago.
Guys and gals, for sure.
Yep. In
Burbank and all over the place, building the parts and doing the assembly. And talk to me about the young lady who was involved in that project. Was it one of John's daughters?
It was down yes.
There? Because this is a great story.
So Sophia is one of my mechanics, John Breichenbach. It's his daughter. It's the oldest daughter. And we nicknamed her the long one. He's got two girls. One's short and younger, and the other one's taller and older. So we just affectionately call him the short one and the tall one.
Yeah.
And
how old are they? Ballpark.
Sophia's probably 12 or 13.
Right.
And Morgan is, I think, 10.
There you go. A 10-year-old and a 12-year-old, and they're out there on the weekends with Dad.
Yep.
Not only turning wrenches, but learning the story and the history. That's what's so incredible about this.
Absolutely. And Sophia, she, whenever we need her to do something, she's right there learning how to do it. She always is asking, hey, is there anything I can do? What do you need me to do? And like I said, she's not afraid to put a wrench or a screwdriver in her hand and hop in the tightest places in that airplane that none of us would think about going in. And she goes in there and puts a wrench on a bolt till we put a nut on the other side. And yeah, she's happy to stay in there. But it's little things like that not only make the project possible, but just think about, what impact that's going to have on her, and who knows what road that's going to lead her down with her career choices or just life in general, as time goes on. So I'm hoping that she stays involved as she gets older and can show what's possible when opportunities are given to people.
I think that's fantastic. Stay with us. We'll be right back after this with more from Jason Capra and Beach City Baby. And welcome back here to Warbird Radio. I'm Matt Jolley. We're talking to Jason Capra today from the Beach City Baby Project, Vintage Wings Incorporated. How can folks get involved with your organization, Jason, if they want to help you out?
So there's a couple different ways. And again, there's opportunities for whatever way you want to help out. So during the summer, it's kind of hard to keep up with us because the airplane is out flying a lot, and we kind of have our crews set for the summer air show schedule. But the weekends that the airplane isn't scheduled to be anywhere, we're normally up at our hangar, which is at 145 Hangar Drive in Franklin, Pennsylvania. And we're there every Saturday for the most part. And our public hours when we are there is 10 to 4. And again, it's just a donation to get into the museum. And all that, every penny goes towards helping keeping the airplane flying. And mostly during the winter when we're not out on the airshow circuit, we're pretty much there every Saturday, again, from 10 to 4 is our public hours. But again, we just request a donation to get in and see the airplane. if you do want to see the airplane out on the road, if you go to our website, which is www.vintagewingsinc.com, and click on schedule, you can see the airplane's itinerary for the summer. I think we have about 4 or 5 events left, and before the end of the season. Our last event will be our pancake breakfast flying that we do with the EAA chapter there in Franklin. That'll be in October, and that'll probably be the last event of the year for us before we have the airplane go down again for winter maintenance.
Now, you're not just showing up in the airplane. I mean, you show up and you set up some tents that are World War II vintage. You have a full ground display that travels with this airplane, and you're always running around wearing a Mae West and period uniforms. I mean, this is a total immersive experience when you go see this aircraft.
That's correct. Yeah, our crew for the most part is dressed exactly like a Air Transport Command or Troop Carrier C-47 or C-53 crew would have been in 1943, 1944. We do partner a lot with Baker Company, which is out of Meadville, Pennsylvania. They are a 101st Airborne reenactment group. So a lot of the local shows that we do, these guys set up their encampment right next to the airplane. So you get this full submersive, D-Day Eve experience of what it was like being with the paratroopers and these DC-3s and C-47s and C-53s. And again, our crew, we've got guys dressed in flight suits with, everything on. And our crew chiefs and aircraft mechanics. And it's just a full submersive experience into getting to be around one of these airplanes 80 years ago. And like I said, I can't even begin to tell you how hot it is in some of these uniforms. It just makes me wonder how in God's name these guys wore this all the time back then.
Well, they weren't running around in those uniforms in Pennsylvania in the summertime either. Pennsylvania, to me, is one of the hottest places on earth in the summertime.
It is pretty toasty, especially with the humidity.
Yeah.
It can get up there.
Yeah, it might be hot, but at least it's humid, right? I mean, that's...
Yeah. It's a heck of a weight loss program,
that's right.
I'll tell you. So...
No, but you're doing it right, and the cool thing is a lot of people will come up and they'll take a picture, and I know you share some of these on your social media sites. Can you tell which one is from the 1940s and which one's not? And a lot of the time, it's pretty difficult to tell. Maybe Joe's beard or somebody's beard will give it away, but that's about it. I mean, really and truly, that's about it.
Yeah. It's we joke around with Joe about his beard and stuff, and he will not shave it off, and I don't blame him, but it's kind of like, we're afraid to have him actually do it because it's like Samson in the Bible. If you cut the beard off, I don't know that he'll be as good of a mechanic as he was before. So
it's all of the whiskers, right? There you
That's
go.
right. We don't want to take the chance. So.
Any breakthroughs on the history? There's some really narrow chances on some really cool stuff that I know you've been trying to track down for years and years and years. That you've been working on this project, but there is a slim chance that your airplane had some incredibly distinguished visitors in its seats, especially down in North Africa.
Yeah, we're still trying to 100% confirm, the big names like Montgomery, which there's, records that he may have been on our aircraft touring North Africa with this crew right after the invasion before they went into Cairo and Sicily. And it's just, my request, and timing was everything too. I really started digging into that verification process right before COVID hit. And then it kind of was, as you well know, with the government and stuff, it was hard getting anything back from anybody during that time. And I think it kind of slipped through the cracks. So I'm probably going to have to revisit that and open those doors again. And I try and get down there on my own to the U.S. Archives in Washington, D.C. That a lot of research that we did get on the airplane came from just the personal footwork of doing that. But
because the story is that there were these C-53s, a couple of them, if I remember correctly, that were flying, the big wigs around, who were making the decisions about where to go and when to go. And your C-53 definitely was there in country at that time. And that it flew some of these missions.
That's correct. Yep.
You're just not sure who was on it. And
yeah, like I said, we do have one picture where it looks like there was a USO tour that the airplane is clearly in the background with. And there's some, at the time, famous Hollywood personalities that are in front of the aircraft. But the
in
ones
front of
that,
your airplane, and that's been confirmed.
Correct. Yep. The ones that I'm looking for, though, is the ones that we've heard, the stories of Montgomery and even Patton possibly being on this aircraft. And there's, again, that story of MacArthur when it somehow ended up out in the Pacific that he was on the airplane. And I've heard 2 or 3 people that were very confident about that story about MacArthur being on there. Before we say yes, for sure that happened, I was trying to get some proof or verification via photos or records or logbooks. And some of that stuff's just hard to find, but just like anything else, we'll keep digging, and I'm sure some way, somehow, that story will present itself. And it's always the most random and weird places that the proof comes from, and it's just neat how it kind of surfaces just by us going out and doing what we're doing.
Well, and you've talked to the family of the crew, in large part. I know you have their support. So it's but I was digging through some stuff, some family papers the other day, and I found a Form 615, a mission form that had the manifest on it, and it had all this other stuff on it. So that stuff's out there. It's still floating around. You just literally never know where you're going to find it.
Absolutely. Well, I'll tell you what's really cool too is, we've become very close with the families of the captain, Jack Bartlett, and the radio operator, John Filatico. And the Filaticos and Jack's daughter, Wendy Bartle, they've been out to quite a few shows last year, and they met us at Reading this year, which was just awesome. And it's just so cool to stand there and watch the children of the crew of our airplane take people on tours through it. And you can hear how proud they are when they say, that's Dad's seat right there. And that's where he sat. And to be able to give those families that type of closure and source of pride in what their fathers did, it's really just flattering and humbling that we're able to do that. And I love when they come out and help us give tours and stuff. And again, the connection of having the actual crew's children there giving tours of their dad's airplane and tying that, the reaction that we get from the crowds when they learn that part of the story is just incredible.
And again, this is the World War II history of this
That's
aircraft.
Correct.
It had a second life as Buckeye 1. Governor Rhodes opened, I believe, a number of airports with this airplane when he was going around the state of Ohio building airports. Did I get that correct?
That is correct, yes. So
Buckeye 1, the airplane for the state of Ohio.
Yep. Yeah, so after its tenure, being a military aircraft, it did do a short stint with Danish Airlines over in Europe, and then somehow managed to, I think it was sold surplus by them, and it ended up down in Florida where it was converted to a corporate DC-3. Did a small stint with the company up in New York, and then in the early 60s was purchased by the state of Ohio and became the state of Ohio's corporate airplane from essentially the early 60s till the early 80s.
Yeah.
And Governor James Rhodes, who was a huge, huge proponent of general aviation.
A mile of road? What is the quote? Give us the quote. A mile of road will take you 1 mile, but a mile of runway will take you anywhere in the world or something like that.
That is correct.
There you go.
And his goal was to make sure every county in the state of Ohio had an airport in it. And this airplane, our DC-3, was at the opening ceremony of close to 20, if not 30 some airports in the state of Ohio. Actually cut the ribbon at the opening ceremony at quite a few of them.
They just taxi right through it.
Yep, pretty much. And then the other neat thing other than, promoting aviation was, this airplane was the corporate airplane for the state of Ohio in the 60s. So, when native Ohioan John Glenn came back from outer space, he toured around the state of Ohio promoting NASA in our DC-3 with the governor. So, I mean, how much more aviation history do you want in one airplane?
Yeah, so worthy of being saved. And to look at the pictures of it from when you first laid eyes on it to where it's at today, Jason, it is a remarkable journey. So, congratulations.
Well, thank
to
you,
you
Matt.
and your crew, man.
This is just God willing, this is just the beginning chapter of a long book. And even when I'm no longer a player in this, I'm hoping that the airplane and the organization are in a position that, even without me being a part of it, this story and this mission can continue. That's my goal, is for this to go on and be passed down to the next generation of aviators and historians. And I feel like we're doing a good job of fostering that with some of our younger members. But it takes a lot of effort and a lot of commitment and time to keep something like this going. And I just hope that that passion resonates in someone else that's out there that wants to carry the torch on when I can't do it anymore.
Amen. Well, it's great stuff you're doing, and you certainly are doing it well. Again, if you want to help out with Vintage Wings, you can hear Jason is now at his day job, where he's not taking a salary. There's no salaried employees down there at Vintage Wings. Like you said, everything goes to keep the airplane running. You fly for you don't fly for a major airline. You fly for a regional airline, and you have been because they keep you at home. And that's the best part of this. So it's great. I love it. So it's been a blessing in disguise. Like I said, the ability to go out every weekend and do the air show circuit and be available to maintain and fly the aircraft. My current job and my current employer have given me the opportunity to make all this come to fruition, and I'm very grateful for that. I think it's just fantastic. So y'all support them, help them out there with Vintage Wings. And look, if you're a keyboard warrior and you're sitting there poking around at night, help them out, and let's see if we can't solve this mystery, and come up with some actual proof that can confirm the already amazing history of now, as she's known, Beach City Baby, which I think is pretty cool. Jason Capra, thanks for coming on Warbird Radio. Great to hear your voice, Matt, again.
Thank you, as always, for all your support and help. And like I said, I owe you a lot, and just for believing in us from day one. This organization and this airplane, I firmly believe wouldn't have the success it did if it wasn't for your belief in us from day one. So thank you.
Hey, bud. Glad you're here, and we'll keep talking, okay?
Sounds good, Matt. You take care. Have a good one.
Jason Capra, everyone. Help him out, Vintage Wings there in Beach City Baby. Stay tuned, of course, for more great stuff here on Warbird Radio as we get back into it. I've been going through the archives, and I'll tell you what, it's just remarkable, some of the folks that we were able to talk to over the years and some of the shows. We're getting it back up and running. So not to worry, a lot of your favorite shows are going to come back, and we have some new ones that'll be coming along as well. But the most important thing you can do is like and follow us on social media. Share these episodes so we can start building up the numbers, and just stay tuned for more great stories here. These stories matter. The stories of our airmen, past and present. Talk to you real soon, right here on warbirdradio.com.
Reminding you that radio engines don't leak oil. They just mark their territory. This is Warbird Radio. Tune in. Take off.